What is going on, guys? Zuggy Fishing here, back to you with another video. Guys, we have some very big news for you. If you guys weren't on my TikTok live on April 25th, Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, then you missed Andrew Flair, member of the Googan squad, amazing content creator, live on my podcast on the TikTok live. If you guys don't know who Flair is, he's a member of the Googan squad and he has nearly 2 million subscribers. He's one of my favorite fishing content creators. He's actually my favorite fishing content creator and he's absolutely awesome, and I was honored to have him on our podcast. Flair is my favorite fishing content creator along with the other Googans, and he's one of my favorite members in the Googan squad, and it was an absolute pleasure and honor to have him on the podcast. And today, guys, we are going to be taking just a small look at what he had to say and dissecting what he had to say on the podcast. If you guys haven't already checked out the podcast, and the full length of the Flair podcast is on Spotify. All you have to do is click the link in the description or go on Spotify and search the Southern Lure Podcast. Guys, this is a phenomenal podcast that me and my co-host from Georgia, Griffin Fishing, started, and it's absolutely amazing. We bring awesome guests on there every single week and just talk everything fishing, and it is phenomenal. We've had Flair, Bass Fishing Productions, and tons more for the future lined up. Guys, all you have to do to see the full length of the Flair podcast is click the link in my description or go to Spotify again and search the Southern Lure Podcast. It's a phenomenal podcast, and we're going to be dissecting what Flair said in it right now. Guys, I just want to say, I doubt Flair's watching right now, but I want to give him a huge thanks because he let me know right before the podcast that his goats actually had babies right before when we were starting the podcast. So I just wanted to say a huge thanks to him for taking just a little bit out of his time to be on the podcast. And it's a huge honor, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's get right into it. All right, guys, so this is what the podcast looks like on Spotify. It's called the Southern Lure Podcast. Me and Griffin Fishing, his name's Chandler. Go follow him. His links are in my description. This episode is called Talking Everything Googan, featuring Flair, and we're going to dissect what Flair had to say in this podcast and see what the truth is about Googan baits and everything Googan. So let's get into it. All right, guys, let's play on the podcast and let's take a listen.
Hey, Flair, welcome to the stream, man.
It's good, my guy.
How are you?
Well, I'm out here trying to make sure these goats don't die. Just had four baby goats born. Spoiler alert for a future video.
That's crazy, Flair. That's awesome.
Oh.
For the goats, dude. That's great. So Flair, I know we're on a time crunch here, but we're gonna get.
Yeah, guys. So basically, as I was saying before, right before the podcast started, he was actually nice enough to take the time out of his crazy night that he was having. His goat just had 4 to 5 babies, so it was awesome. It was awesome that he could make time to do that. You know, that's really great of him to do that, and a true honor, to be honest, to have him on our podcast. So yeah, so guys, basically that's a little intro with Flair, and let's get on to the rest of the things he has to say.
Right into it.
Okay, sweet.
Dude, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really appreciate
Thanks for having
it. To everybody watching, you're such an inspiration, not only to me, but to everybody, and we all love your stuff, man.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, guys, huge thank you to Flair again. I know if you're watching, Flair, thank you so much, dude. And everybody, please go check out his stuff. He's pretty much my favorite fishing YouTuber out there, and was my inspiration to become a fishing content creator since I was a kid. So let's get into it again.
Of course. Yeah, so let's get right into it, Flair. Again, thank you so much. So, Flair, we want to know, so how did you start with your content creation and your fishing career?
So,
yeah, guys, so the first question I asked him was, like, how did you start your career and, like, how to kickstart if you guys want to start a career. So let's take a look at what he had to say.
well, fishing, I mean, I've been fishing as long as I can remember. My dad took me out and stuff, like, when I was younger. But then, like, the YouTube side of things, I started when I think I was like 15. It was actually 8 years ago.
Yeah, guys, so Flair's been content creating for around 8 years, which is really awesome. So I'll stop pausing it and let's get into it.
I think on like the 21st or something. Sorry if it gets loud. Yeah, I'm trying to.
So that sound you basically right here, he was on his farm and a bunch of fences fell. So that was that sound.
Bro, there's a fence here. So yeah, like so Yeah, I started 8 years ago on YouTube, and it pretty much just started with like a couple bass fishing videos, a lot of tip videos. Like back then, that's like kind of the deal, is like reviews and telling people what gear you like to use, and it's still like that, but it's a little bit different nowadays. And just kept chugging along at it, not really making any money on it, just doing it because that's what I wanted to do. And
guys, a very important part of what Flair just said. He was doing it because he loved and wanted to do it. That's such an important part of things, and what like your motives are. You should do something because you want to do it and you like to do it, and enjoy the things that you're doing. And that's exactly why what Flair said, he was doing YouTube because he loved to do it.
Most people thought I was crazy. Kids in high school were like, why do you do this? This is stupid, the whole nine.
You'll always get hate, you'll always get that negativity, but never ever stop. So much negativity has been thrown at me, and I've never stopped, and I'll keep pursuing and keep pushing, and that's what you guys have to do too.
It still happens today, but kept chugging along. And then in 2015 I met John B at ICAST, and him and I.
If you guys don't know what ICAST is a major fishing convention held in Orlando, Florida every year, and a bunch of companies come together and just promote new stuff and talk.
We knew each other through YouTube, we knew of each other. So we met up and chilled, and then collaboration was a thing, so seeing two YouTubers film a video together and then post it had never been done in the fishing outdoor industry.
Guys, so basically what he's saying right there, he met up with John B, another member of the Googan squad, another awesome content creator. He met up with him at ICAST, and basically these guys collaborated together, and basically no one's seen that before in the fishing and hunting industry and outdoor industry. So that's really how they got their start, but let's see what else he got to say.
And so John and I, not saying that we invented it, but kind of we're the first people to really do a collaboration in the fishing and hunting industry. And the response was crazy. Everybody loved it.
Yeah, guys, so they were basically the first one, and that's how they got their start. Well, we're going to skip a little bit through the podcast to get the most important parts, but if you guys want to go check out the entire podcast with Flair, hit the link in my description or go on Spotify and search the Southern Lure Podcast. The full thing's on there, but let's get on to the next segment of the podcast.
No, and basically, that's kind of the story on how the Googan squad kind of came to be. It all kind of slowly funneled, one collaboration turned into two, to add 3, 4. Then we started filming together, and then we realized, people don't only just when 2 creators are together; they when 5 or 6 creators are together, and they think it's a cool.
Right. So basically, Flair and all the members of the Googan squad right now, or at least the four at the time, they thought, everybody loves our stuff. Let's come together and create content, and that's exactly what they did, and that's how they really grew.
Thing ever. And then after a little while, that's kind of what made us say, well, why don't we just start filming together a lot? And so we did, and obviously we're a bunch of idiots, so we named it the Googan Squad because we just like to mess around and do stupid things. And
right. That's so basically, guys, Flair just said how the Googan Squad name became, because there were a bunch of fishermen who Flair just said it crazy and goofy and silly, and they call themselves the Googans, which is pretty cool. But that basically throughout the first segment of the podcast, Flair basically talked about how he got started fishing content creation and being a YouTuber in general, and how the Googan squad became about. So let's skip to the second segment or question of the podcast.
How fast it changes. It changes so fast. It's hard to keep up with it. There's always new trends. And I get asked all the time from people, how do I start a YouTube channel? What should I do? And you and I even had this conversation, and it's
sure.
A lot of it is just consistency, persistence, hard work, just putting the content out there. I started in 2012, and I don't think I ever got a penny from YouTube until probably 2015.
Wow.
So 3 years, no sponsors, no money. And again, because that's not what I was in there for, but I uploaded 3 days a week for 3 years. I don't know what the math is. That's 150 some odd videos.
Right.
For no money.
Guys, Flair didn't get paid for 3 years on YouTube, starting in 2012, ending in 2015, and he still went at it. Guys, if you want to achieve a goal, you have to strive and keep working at it, no matter how long it takes, because success takes time, and hard work takes time, and Flair exactly lines that out in his experience.
cash negative the whole time. I would, spend money on gas, lures, every penny I had to go into camera gear, whatever,
Right.
and get nothing in return.
Right.
And so when people are like, yeah, I started a channel and I'm only making $20 a month or whatever it might be, it's like, well, I don't think you guys understand like where you guys could be. It was a lot worse.
Right. Guys, he didn't get paid a penny. And he's at 1.7 million subscribers the last time I checked. Nearly at 2 million subscribers. 8 years later, hard work pays off. I'm telling you guys right now, if you want to achieve a goal, you have to work hard at it. One more very important point before we get into stuff about Googan baits and, more Googan Squad stuff. This is really important, guys. Listen in.
I always tell people that story as well. If you're in it for the money, you shouldn't get in it, because that's not what it's about. Like, the money's cool, it's great, it's awesome.
Right.
But if you're money driven, you're not going to make it. You're not going to.
Guys, Flair said it right there. If you are in it for the money, you're not going to make it. You need a true passion for what you're doing and a love for what you're doing. If you're doing something just for the money, there's no point at it because you don't enjoy it and you don't love it. Now, that's what Flair had to say about that. Now, let's get into more Googan baits type stuff. Yeah, guys, so basically, my co-host, Griffin Fishing, Chandler, asked a question basically saying, how did Googan baits start? How did they build from the ground up? And this is what Flair had to say.
The inspiration behind it was the industry not listening to us. That was the biggest thing. Like,
Interesting.
We're out here jacking around making videos and trying to obviously get sponsors. And what do you use and whatever. We knew we could sell stuff and no one would listen to us. And
Right.
basically that got us to the point where we were so frustrated that we're like, screw it, let's just do it ourselves. And we figured it.
Right, guys. So the Flair is basically saying that the inspiration of Googan baits came from different companies and different things not reaching out to them. So basically what they did was utilize us and say, okay, we're going to start our own brand. And that's what they did. That's exactly what they did. And they started Googan baits. So let's see what else he has to say.
We found factories. We went and we designed them all. We named them all. Like, we went from the ground up, partnered with the right people at the right time type deal,
Right.
and kicked it off the ground. That's the biggest thing. It's knowing the right people at the right time. That's.
So basically, guys, what Flair's entailing about this is that there is hard work and there's drive, but there's also a little bit of luck, So now, guys, a very interesting part of the podcast is basically how much time and effort it takes to produce, a company. This is what he had to say.
A lot of money.
Right.
A lot more than people think. Like,
Right.
in order to start the company, to pay for the initial orders, you're talking millions and millions and millions of dollars before you even have a bait on a website, let alone a shelf. Right.
Yeah, guys, so they spent so much time, money, and effort into this thing. Again, the idea of working hard, you know what I mean? They spent so much time and so much effort on this thing, and it really paid off in the end. But, it did take a lot of hard work in the beginning. They persisted, and they ultimately achieved their goal. There's been a lot of controversy about, Googan baits, quote-unquote, ripping off other baits. So basically what that means is Googan baits being the exact same as other baits. All right, guys, so basically the next segment of the podcast, my co-host Chandler asked Flair a question and said, talked about this concept of, ripping off baits and like how are Googan baits, different and proprietary than other baits. And I thought he had an extremely interesting intake that not a lot of people, would think about, because many people have, hating opinions on Googan baits and stuff, saying they rip off, but Flair set it all out for y'all, and this is really important what he had to say.
Pretty much, I don't know if that really gave you the answer you're looking for, but 100%. Yeah, and that's we get it all the time. Obviously, like, this thing looks just like this company's bait, and first off, everybody's bait is doing the same thing. It's imitating something that a fish that can catch a fish. So
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to go out here and make a lure that looks like, I don't even know, a corn cob, or something crazy, just to be, hey guys, look, we made something. Well, okay, well that ain't going to catch anything.
Guys, so basically what they're saying they've done, Googan baits, and any lure company out there, there's nothing that can be reinvented or different about all these baits, you know what I mean? Like, pretty much Flair's going to use this reference, reinventing the wheel. Basically, what they've tried to do, as Flair will explain, is make these baits better, and revise them to their expectations and what they think is the best. So listen in what he's got to say. It's really, really interesting stuff that, not a lot of people would really know.
Oh,
Yeah.
you have to stay somewhat in the same realm of base. And so, like, we obviously got so much hate for when we launched. This looks just like this company. If you really want to play this game, I can sit down in about 4 seconds. I can pull 10 companies together, and you won't be able to tell me the difference between any of the baits.
That is very important, guys, because it really shows how Googan baits, they're not trying to rip off other companies. And, if you take, let's say you take 5 companies, right? Let's say you take the Lunker Log. Let's say you take Gary Yamamoto Senkos. Let's say you take Yum Dinger Senkos. Let's say you take the Strike King style Senkos. Let's say you take, I don't know, another brand of Senkos, and if you line them up on the table, all 5 in a row, it's going to be pretty hard to tell the difference. And that's exactly what Flair is trying to say, You can't reinvent something and make it so great and different, All these different companies are trying to achieve the same goal. You know what I mean? And that's what Flair is trying to say.
For the paint scheme. If I throw it all in black and white, good luck. It is what it is. Like, everybody's just reinventing the wheel. Let's be honest. Like, that's what it is.
That's the reference I said before, guys. Basically reinventing the wheel. That means, like, the wheel can't be recreated. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with fishing lures, There can't be a Senko that's so much better than every other Senko, You can't reinvent something so crazy, And that's what Googan Baits is, And as he'll say, it's very interesting. Let's just listen in.
It's all the same thing. And, like, have we designed baits, and do we have baits coming out that we believe are different? Yes, they're absolutely different.
Right. But
that doesn't mean, like, if you throw our bait and you versus another bait, you're never going to catch a fish on this other bait, and you're only going to catch, like, I'm sorry, but that's a bunch of BS. And I'm just going to be honest with you guys.
100%.
Like, I'm not going to be that guy that's like, this is the only bait you ever need, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like,
right.
Guys, basically what they tried, again, as Flair explained, trying to reinvent something to make it better within their expectations. You know what I mean? They're not trying to create something insane. All of it's been created already. All these different bait companies, let's say, for example, a new bait company comes in. There's the Senko, there's the spinner bait, there's the chatter bait, all these different kind of baits. They can't reinvent something, that's so insane, and so different. It's just itself, over and over and over again. So let's listen to what he got to say.
Grab the bandito bug and you've got bass in your pond. I'd put some money on that you'll catch them. Let's be honest. Like, that's the freaking bait. But I can't tell you that if you go to Walmart and go buy some discounted, plastic, that you're not going to catch bass.
Right.
It's what you have confidence in. And I have.
It's all about that confidence in what you like using. If you like Googan baits, you'll use the Googan baits. If you like Strike King, you'll like Strike King,
Obviously, the most confidence in the products that we have, because we sat down and designed them. We said, hey, take this existing product that we already like, and how could we make it better? And that's what we did. I mean, we took we're not the first people to make a craw. Like,
exactly as my point before. They're not the first person to make a craw. Neither Strike King, neither's, Gary Yamamoto, neither's none of them,
You take a craw, say, hey, we like the Power Bait craw, we like, Strike King, or we like whatever, lay them all out. What do you like about this one? What do you hate about this one? And then we combined everything that we could think of into, in what our opinion is, the best craw. And then we went down and said...
They basically took different craws, you know what I mean? So they took the Rage craw, for example, took the Saw craw, for example, took the Power Bait craw, for example, and say, okay, what do we like about the Rage craw, and what do we not like about it? And we're going to make a bait that has everything we like and doesn't include everything we don't like to make it the perfect craw. And that's exactly what Flair's trying to say. They're not trying to rip off other bait companies. They're again reinventing the wheel to make it in the best possible fashion.
All right, let's create, the Mondo worm. So you take this, that's what we did. So it's, again, we didn't pull this out of thin air.
Sure.
Clearly, we've been fishing longer than our baits have been around, so we've used other people's products. So we took the products we like, and took the things about those products that we like that we don't like, eliminated and changed and modified, and then came out with our stuff. So that's kind of how that.
It's basically just a modification of what they think is the best. It's simple as that. They're not ripping off other bait companies. Again, that concept of reinventing the wheel, modifying, making better their expectations, and then executing, and bringing out the best in these baits.
I went down.
Okay, I got.
Yeah, that's basically how I got it.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. So Flair, a question from one of our fans is, what is your favorite Googan bait?
That's a toughie. That's I'm assuming that you're just referencing plastics, not everything.
Yeah, let's go with plastics. Yeah, let's go with plastics.
I mean, favorite's a tough word because it's all situational.
Right.
Put it this way: if I only had one, like if I could just keep one and only fish one and be able to catch fish anywhere, Bandito bug, for sure.
Hey guys, so there you go. Have it. Flair's favorite Googan bait's the Bandito bug. If you didn't already know, we're gonna skip ahead a little bit and see what else he's got to say. It's some really interesting stuff though. So thus far.
Question. Talk about like what life is as a Googan and as a content creator.
I mean, yeah, for the most part, it is what you guys see. I mean, I document most things. There's a lot of the Googan stuff, you know, the collaboration stuff I don't document because it all goes up on the Googan Squad channels and documented there. But as far as just like what my life entails, 90% of it's documented for you guys. You guys see it. The other 10%.
Right, as a YouTuber, he basically documents all what he does, you know, because that's what he likes to do and everything. And, you know, we see it all.
That you guys don't see is all the business side of things, the emailing, the phone calls, the negotiations, and all that stuff like that. But I mean, the majority of my life is pretty much what you guys see. I mean, it's farming, fishing, and running around wrangling animals all the time, and
right.
We keep it pretty raw.
Awesome. Another question: what are your favorite hobbies besides farming and fishing that people wouldn't really know? You know what I mean?
That they wouldn't
right.
know.
Like something you like to do that you don't.
They wouldn't know. I mean, to be honest, I don't have.
Okay.
Like I said, like it's...
Hey guys, so basically at this point of the podcast, Flair kind of tells us, you know, he documents everything. You know, he documents what he likes to do and everything. We basically see it all. The next question I asked Flair was, what was his favorite memory with the Googan Squad? So this is what he had to say.
With the Googans, probably we took a trip down to Texas. We all did, and we fished. And the main memory that I have is, I think it was John threw Perrick off the boat.
Oh, really?
When we were fishing, because it was hot and sunny one day. Like that's like the first like memory I can remember where we were all together. Is that?
Right.
Yep.
That's awesome, dude.
All right. Before you have to leave, Flair, everybody wants to know in the live stream, how's Dale?
Dale's good.
Dale is Flair's goat, for those of you who didn't know, and go check him out on his YouTube channel. He's really cute and cool. So
fishing the other day, you guys saw that. Yep. He's been hanging out. Another spoiler alert: I took him up to my house and I had him like roped up to a tree, and he spun circles and mowed my grass.
Oh wow!
So I used him as a lawnmower. So that's the most recent thing I've done with Dale. He's been a lawnmower for me.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, guys. So that was little bits and pieces of the podcast with Flair. If you guys want to go check out the entire podcast with Flair, hit the link in my description or go in Spotify and search the Southern Lore podcast. Guys, it's a really, really great podcast. We have awesome guests on there every single week, or we talk about everything fishing, and it's sweet. I'm so grateful, happy, and honored that Mr. Andrew Flair himself could be on our podcast. I know he has an extremely busy schedule, you know, content creating, fishing, farming, all that good stuff. And extremely honored that he could be on our podcast, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. We stream every podcast live on my TikTok live, Zuggy Fishing, on Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So go check that out on Saturdays. Also, please go subscribe and follow to the podcast on Spotify. And so that was Flair on the podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed. It was really cool, the insight he had to give about, you know, his content creation, his startup with the Googans and everything, and how Googan baits came about, and, you know, some fun little questions here and there. But some really interesting insight about Googan baits, you know, that puts down some controversial topics. And, you know, they don't rip off other baits. You know, they take different baits and they make the best product that they possibly can. But again, extremely honored and thankful for Flair being on the podcast. Go check out his stuff if you haven't already. He's an awesome YouTuber. As well as go like, subscribe, and comment down below on this video. Tell me what you guys thought about this, and tell me what you guys think about the podcast in the comment section. Again, go check it out on Spotify, the Southern Lore Podcast, and go follow me. All the links are in the description. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you appreciated Mr. Flair being on the podcast. Again, my favorite fishing content creator, and he is absolutely awesome. I love him so much, and I appreciate him being on the podcast, and hopefully we can have him get on in the future. Go like, subscribe, and comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Be positive, just fish.